Have you ever fallen in love with an anime's concept, only to be emotionally mugged by its execution? You're watching episode 1, vibing with the characters and thinking, oh yeah, this is gonna be my next obsession. Fast forward 6 episodes and bam, plot holes, rushed pacing, and an ending so bad it makes you question your life choice. Welcome to the video equivalent of group therapy. Top 10 anime that deserve a redo but won't get one. These are the shows that had everything going for them. Cool worlds, juicy plot lines, promising characters, and then absolutely face-planted off a cliff of budget cuts, scheduling disasters, or just straight-up criminal storytelling decisions. So grab your emotional support plushie, maybe a snack you can angrily crunch on, and let's dive into the anime that had the potential to be goated, but ended up ghosted by the studio instead. Starting the list with number 10, we have High School of the Dead. If you ever wanted The Walking Dead, but with more physics-defying boobs and less coherent storytelling, High School of the Dead is what happens when horny fan service and apocalypse horror decide to awkwardly co-parent an anime. This show starts off super strong. Zombies take over Japan, and a bunch of high schoolers band together to survive. There's chaos in the streets, tension in every scene, and the promise of a juicy survival narrative that mixes gore, strategy, and raw human emotion. And then, the fan service creeps in like a penny-flashing ninja. Suddenly, the show is more interested in jiggle physics than character development. There's a literal scene where a sniper round dodges slow-motion boobs like it's playing bullet pong. Like, bro, I came for zombies, not 360-degree breast acrobatics. The characters had potential. Komuro could have been the everyman thrust into leadership. Rei and Saeko had deep emotional arcs bubbling under the surface. But instead, we got awkward bath scenes, conveniently exploding clothing, and enough cleavage shots to give your screen a tan. And just when you think it might circle back to the plot, it ends. Abruptly, cliffhanger. No resolution. Nothing. Like the budget ran out and someone just shrugged and said, guess we're done. The manga did continue, much darker and more cohesive, but was tragically never finished due to the passing of the author. Without him, any continuation would feel incomplete, and any redo would need a miracle-level studio that could balance horror, fan service, and emotional weight without turning into a 13-episode cosplay contest. Would I love to see a proper reboot? Absolutely. Tone down the fan service, bring up the suspense, and actually finish the dang story. But will we get it? Highly doubtful. It's stuck in the land of lost potential, where good anime ideas go to die, surrounded by suspiciously bouncy physics. Up next on number 9, Ergo Proxy. Imagine Blade Runner and The Matrix had a goth cyberpunk baby, and that baby read Nietzsche while chain-smoking in a philosophy class. It would be Ergo Proxy. This anime had everything going for it. A hauntingly cool aesthetic, post-apocalyptic despair, android existentialism, and a protagonist, Riel Mayer, who looks like she walked out of a gothic fashion magazine and into a robot conspiracy. The world building is chef's kiss. Dark domes, oppressive AI overlords, secrets buried under layers of ruined civilization. So, what went wrong? Well, Ergo Proxy is the anime equivalent of that one smart kid in class who's too busy quoting Descartes to realize nobody understands what the hell they're talking about. It's so packed with philosophical references and cryptic monologues that watching it feels like homework assigned by a sadistic professor who hates clarity. The first few episodes hook you with mystery and aesthetic brilliance. Then it hits you with 3 episodes of vague, metaphor-filled dream sequences that make Inception look like Dora the Explorer. You're not even sure what's real anymore. Is real hunting a rogue proxy? Are we in a simulation? Why is there a quiz show episode in the middle of this dystopian breakdown? To its credit, Ergo Proxy tries to be more than just another sci-fi romp. It questions what it means to be alive, whether identity is real, and if free will even exists. But the execution buries those gems under abstract nonsense and inconsistent pacing. A redo with tighter direction, a more coherent narrative arc, and slightly less cryptic dialogue could turn Ergo Proxy from cult classic to actual masterpiece. But will it happen? Nah. It's already cemented as too smart for mainstream, and studios rarely fund remakes of shows that made people feel stupid. So we salute you, Ergo Proxy. Confusing, brilliant, and likely to remain trapped in the I want to love this but I'm exhausted anime Hall of Fame. On number 8, we got Elfenlied. Elfenlied is what happens when a Shakespearean tragedy, a horror film, and an edgy teenage poetry blog get thrown into a blender, and someone forgets to put the lid on. The first episode slaps you in the face with a decapitation, buckets of blood, and a completely naked pink-haired girl with invisible murder hands. Subtlety? Never heard of her. But here's the thing. Beneath all the gore and shocking visuals, Elfen Lied was actually trying to say something about humanity, about trauma, about what happens when the world fails the broken. Lucy, our main girl, is a tortured soul with a split personality and a laundry list of reasons to go feral. Her tragic backstory isn't just sad, it's straight-up existential heartbreak. And the Diclonius concept, mutants with deadly telekinetic vectors, could have carried a compelling commentary on prejudice, identity, and moral decay. But instead of diving into those themes with grace, the anime decided to smother everything in blood, nudity, and shock factor. It's like it was screaming, "Look how dark I am," without realizing darkness hits harder when it's earned. Pacing-wise, it sprints, crawls, and then suddenly cliff dives into an ending that raises more questions than it answers. It only covers a chunk of the manga, leaving huge arcs, character developments, and answers buried in untranslated source material. Koda's trauma, Lucy's fate, the government's experiments, all of it deserved room to breathe. A proper redo could fix the tonal whiplash, let the deeper themes marinate, and give us a narrative that's both heartbreaking and meaningful. But do we see studios lining up to tackle this bloodstained, trauma-filled fever dream? Nope, too risky, too niche, too much baggage. So here lies Elfen Lied, the edgelord with a heart of gold. We see you, Lucy, and we wish you'd gotten a second chance. Minus the gratuitous slow-motion nudity, please. Now on number 7, we have the anime number 6. Ah yes, number 6. The anime that said, what if we did dystopia, political intrigue, and forbidden romance, but only dipped our toes in and ran away screaming before the good part started? Set in a supposedly perfect future city that's about as perfect as a broken Roomba with a god complex, number 6 kicks things off with juicy promise. Shion, a privileged soft boy from the elite sector, helps a mysterious fugitive named Nezumi, aka Rat, escape. It's got betrayal, secrets, hidden experiments, and that delicious "we're from two different worlds but now we have to trust each other" dynamic that had fans screaming. And oh, the chemistry. Nezumi and Shion are arguably one of the most compelling pairs in modern anime, not just for the BL subtext, which isn't even subtext at some points, but for the emotional push and pull between them. Shion's idealism clashes with Nezumi's bitterness, and every scene drips with tension, angst, and just kiss already vibes. But then it ends abruptly, like the plot got yanked out from under its feet and face-planted into the credits. The anime only had 11 episodes to adapt an entire light novel series, and you feel every single missing page. Key characters are rushed, crucial twists are glossed over, and the ending is a glorified Ctrl+Z, where everything wraps up in a sparkly bow that contradicts the show's own dark tone. The world building, cracked open, then quickly duct taped shut. It's like baking a cake and taking it out halfway through because you got bored. The novels go way deeper, exploring morality, sacrifice, the cost of rebellion, and give the relationship between Shion and Nezumi the time it deserves. A proper reboot could actually slow down and let the heartbreak hit, but the odds? Slim to none. It didn't rake in the big buck, and no one's itching to reopen the emotional wound that number 6 left behind. So here it sits, a dystopia with all the ingredients of greatness, but cooked in a microwave and served on a soggy paper plate. On number 6, Akame ga Kill! Akame ga Kill! The anime that brought a sword to a feelings fight and then stabbed everyone in the heart, sometimes literally, sometimes unnecessarily. It started off with a compelling premise. A corrupt empire, a ragtag group of assassins called Night Raid trying to overthrow it, and a world where literally no one is safe. Seriously, no one. If you get attached to a character in this show, you're playing emotional Russian roulette. And early on, it worked. The show combined flashy combat, cool weapons, shout out to the Tegu, and a surprisingly deep moral ambiguity. The villains were messed up, the stakes were high, and Night Raid felt like a dysfunctional, lovable family. But here's the twist. The anime completely diverged from the manga halfway through and rushed to its own original ending. A bad one. Like, why did you do that to Tatsumi? Level bad. Characters that survived in the manga? Dead. Important development arcs? Skip. Plot threads? Abandoned like old save files. They went full shock value, killing off characters just for the emotional reaction without properly building their arcs. It was Game of Thrones Season 8 with swords and eyeliner. And the worst part? The actual manga had a way better story, more twists, more strategy, more emotional payoff. Akame, the supposed main character, got the depth and spotlight she deserved. In the anime, she was sidelined in her own story. A redo that sticks to the manga would elevate Akame ga Kill from edgy death fest to legitimate tragedy with meaning. But the anime did well commercially and already ended, so no studio wants to go back and fix it. So we're stuck with what ifs and AMVs, mourning the version of this show that could have really slayed. Up next, number 5, D. Grayman. Oh, D. Grayman. The anime that started with style, heart, and gothic exorcist drama, and then got sucker punched by production hell, studio issues, and enough hiatuses to rival Hunter x Hunter. Set in a dark, alternate 19th century Earth, D. Grayman follows Alan Walker, a cursed boy with a mysterious anti-Akuma arm and an eye that sees the souls of the damned. He joins the Black Order, an organization of exorcists who fight Akuma, demonic weapons made from the souls of the dead, crafted by the fabulously creepy Millennium Earl. This show had everything: grim atmosphere, heavy themes of grief and humanity, a lovable and diverse cast, Lena Lee, Kanda, Lavi Gang Rise, and some of the best early 2000s shonen world building. It mixed action and emotion like few others did. So what went wrong? 2 words: production nightmare. The original anime ran for over 100 episodes, but it started to feel rushed and padded at the same time. Arcs were stretched while the manga tried to stay ahead, filler slithered in, and the pacing got whiplashy. Then it just stopped. We finally got a continuation nearly a decade later with D. Grayman Hallow in 2016. And while it looked prettier, it was only 13 episodes and covered an arc that needed at least double that time. Key character developments were jammed into single episodes. The voice cast was changed, jarring, and longtime fans were left both grateful and emotionally malnourished. A proper reboot, one that fully adapts the manga with consistent pacing and love, could give this series the justice it deserved. But with the manga's erratic release schedule and the anime's cursed history, it's unlikely any studio will gamble on it again. We hold on to our innocence, but man, this one hurts. On number 4, The Promised Neverland Season 2. Let us all gather round for the tragic tale of how The Promised Neverland went from a gourmet psychological horror feast to a rushed fast food nightmare in just one season. Season 1, Chef's Kiss. Season 2, Chef's Resignation Letter. Tae Lil. Season 1 was a masterclass in tension. Creepy orphanage? Check. Secret monster society? Double check. Kids outsmarting adults with 4D chess tactics and mind games so good they could humble Light Yagami? Triple check. It was beautifully animated, gripping, and genuinely terrifying without needing to throw blood at the screen every 5 seconds. We all waited for Season 2 like starving fans at the gates of Gracefield House, only to be force-fed exposition dumps, speedruns, and character arcs that were bulldozed like they were trying to meet a deadline no one agreed on. Entire story arcs from the manga were skipped, not shortened, deleted. Characters who had entire chapters dedicated to their trauma, growth, and pivotal roles in the rebellion? Poof, gone. Mujika and Sonju, 2 of the most fascinating demons with conflicting ideologies, reduced to glorified Uber drivers. And the ending? A literal slideshow. They really hit us with the PowerPoint presentation of plot resolution. Hey, remember all that world building and complex moral dilemmas? Here's 5 JPEGs and a voiceover. Thanks for watching. This could have been one of the greatest anime of the decade. A multi-season psychological horror epic about survival, humanity, and breaking the system. Instead, it speedran its legacy straight into a meme. A redo that follows the manga could fix everything. But considering how badly the second season was received and how hard Cloverworks fumbled the bag, we might never get that redemption. Just a graveyard of potential, and Emma sadly staring into the distance while we all scream, "You deserved better." On number 3, Berserk 2016. This one's personal. Berserk 2016 isn't just a redo that's needed, it's an act of anime atonement, because what they did to Guts, our big sword boy with the pain of 1,000 lifetimes, should be. Now don't get it twisted, Berserk is one of the greatest dark fantasy stories ever written. A brutal epic about vengeance, trauma, fate, and survival, told through the eyes of a man who's lost everything and still refuses to break. It's raw, it's relentless, and it's emotionally devastating in the best way. The 1997 anime? Limited by budget, but a cult classic. It captured the essence, the vibe, the horror, the heartbreak. But then came 2016, and oh lord, Troll, the CGI, stiff, plastic animation, stuttering frame rates, faces that looked like they were rendered in Microsoft Paint, screams of anguish that sounded like they were recorded in a broom closet. It took one of the most emotionally rich and visually intense manga series of all time and made it look like a PS2 cutscene with corrupted files. And don't even get me started on the pacing. They rushed through major arcs, skipped emotional beats, and neutered the nuance of characters like Casca and Griffith. The iconic Eclipse event? An afterthought. The trauma, the madness, the weight of everything gone. Fans wanted Berserk Brotherhood. What we got was Berserk Budget Crisis Edition. This anime desperately needs a faithful adaptation with traditional animation, proper pacing, and the respect the source material demands. The manga deserves better. Guts deserves better. We deserve better. But now that Miura has tragically passed and the IP is in limbo, a true redo is unlikely. It lives on in dreams and fan animations that somehow look better than the studio version. Shame. Just shame. For number 2, Deadman Wonderland. Deadman Wonderland is what happens when you take a great concept, dip it in edge, toss in trauma, sprinkle in carnage, and then abruptly cancel it before it can go anywhere meaningful. So here's the deal. Ganta Igarashi, a regular middle school kid, has his entire class slaughtered in front of him by a mysterious floating dude in red. Ganta, covered in blood and shock, gets framed for the massacre and sent to Deadman Wonderland, a privately run, sadistic prison/theme park where inmates are forced to perform for the entertainment of the public. Oh, and he finds out he has superpower, because why not, right? If a mass is free. The concept was fire. Prisoners battling with blood-based powers in brutal death matches called carnival corpses, all while unraveling conspiracies about government corruption, bioweapons, and psychological horror. There's betrayal, trauma, twisted friendships, and oh, Shiro. Sweet, creepy, heart-wrenching Shiro. If you know, you know. But just when it starts picking up steam, bam, the anime ends. 12 episodes. That's it. Half the characters? Underdeveloped. Major plot lines? Untouched. The truth about Shiro? Hinted at, then dropped like an unpaid Netflix subscription. It's like going to a fancy restaurant, ordering the chef's tasting menu, and only getting the appetizer. And then the waiter kicks you out and throws a manga volume at your head. To really feel the impact of Deadman Wonderland, you have to read the manga. That's where the real story unfolds. The anime was a promo for the source material, nothing more. And that's criminal, considering how much potential it had to be a full-blown Tokyo Ghoul-style hit. A redo with proper pacing and the full story would absolutely wreck us in the best way. But chances of that? Practically zero. It flopped financially. Studio Manglobe is gone, and no one's shown serious interest in reviving this bloodbath. So we mourn, we scream, we whisper for the love of Shiro, and stare at the void where Season 2 should have been. Finally, on the number 1 spot, Tokyo Ghoul. And here it is, the crowned king of anime adaptations that completely nuked their own potential. Tokyo Ghoul, or as I like to call it, Tokyo Ghoul, What Could Have Been. Season 1. A banger. The story of Ken Kaneki, an awkward bookworm turned half-ghoul with a taste for flesh and existential crises, had everything. Horror, action, identity struggle, gorgeous visuals, and the single most iconic torture-to-white hair transformation in anime history. Kaneki versus Jason? Literal chills. Then came Tokyo Ghoul Square Root A, and with it, the slow-motion implosion of everything that made the series good. The adaptation started going anime original, except it wasn't better than the manga, it was worse. Plotlines were rearranged like someone took the manga pages, shuffled them like Uno cards, and just started animating whatever came out. Characters were introduced, and then promptly ignored. Motivations made no sense. Emotional moments lacked any build-up. And then came Tokyo Ghoul, a time-skip mess that assumed you read the manga and had a PhD in lore study. Tokyo Ghoul was supposed to be a psychological deep dive into identity, trauma, and what it means to live between two worlds. Kaneki's spiral into madness, his duality, his descent and rise. It was Shakespearean tragedy wrapped in edgy, blood-stained poetry. Instead, the anime adaptation became a rushed, incoherent sprint through major arcs. Arcs that needed time, arcs that deserved patience. But nope, we got 4 seasons in under 50 episodes and enough whiplash to sue for emotional damage. Will it ever get the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood treatment? We hope. We dream, but with the brand so thoroughly burned and Studio Pierrot probably too busy misanimating fight scenes elsewhere, it's unlikely. So we cry, we cope. We rewatch Season 1 and pretend the rest doesn't exist. Kaneki, you deserved better, and so did we. And there you have it, 10 anime that absolutely deserve better, but probably won't get a second chance unless a miracle happens, or Netflix gets bored. Each of these had all the right ingredients: a killer concept, amazing art or writing, and fan potential that could rival any shonen juggernaut. But due to rushed endings, budget cuts, weird flexes by production committees, or just plain old bad luck, they flopped harder than a filler arc. Which one hurt you the most? Which anime do you think deserves a fresh start? Drop your rage, tears, and hot takes in the comments below, because therapy is expensive, but screaming into the anime void is free. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. like it's the final boss of your anime disappointment. I've been your narrator of nerdy chaos, and I'll catch you next time with more heartbreak, hype, and humor. Until then, stay unhinged, stay hopeful, and maybe read the manga.